I'm Maya Collins, 29 years old, and I manage operations for a medical logistics company in Seattle. My job is built around one rule: nothing moves unless it is verified, approved, and documented. So when my phone lit up with a bank alert showing a $22,000 charge for international flights, luxury hotels, and a private Europe travel package, I stopped breathing for a second because I knew one thing immediately. I had not bought it. I opened my credit card app twice, thinking maybe there had been a glitch. But the number stayed there, bright and ugly, sitting under my name like a warning. Before I could even call the bank, my mother called me. Her voice was rushed, almost shaky, and she said she had used my card because there was an emergency. She said my younger sister needed help after graduation, that she was overwhelmed, that this trip was something she needed to get back on her feet. Then she said the sentence that made my stomach turn cold. Don't make this about money. Family helps family. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But when someone spends $22,000 on your credit card without asking, belief starts feeling less like love and more like a trap. So I did not yell. I did not threaten. I quietly opened my laptop, searched the charge, followed the confirmation trail, and then saw something on my sister's wall that changed everything. Before I tell you what I found there, and why my phone exploded with 35 missed calls at 8:30 the next morning, tell me this. What time is it where you are right now, and where are you watching from? I'm curious how far this story is about to travel. The first thing I saw was not a medical bill, not a crisis message, not a receipt from some urgent clinic, not anything that could explain why my mother had sounded like the world was ending. It was a picture of a white suitcase sitting open on a bed, filled with linen dresses, sandals, designer sunglasses, and a little pink passport cover that said, "Europe Girl Summer." I stared at it for several seconds, waiting for my brain to catch up with what my eyes were seeing. Then I noticed the caption, "12 days until Paris. Best graduation surprise ever. Thank you, Mom." My chest tightened so fast I actually put one hand on my desk. I clicked on the profile. There were more posts. A saved story highlight called Europe. A countdown sticker. A screenshot of a luxury hotel balcony overlooking Rome. A video of someone squealing while opening a printed itinerary. I did not need anyone to explain it to me. The $22,000 on my card was not an emergency. It was a vacation. Not a small vacation either. This was not a budget backpacking trip with discount flights and shared rooms. This was business class upgrades, boutique hotels, a private food tour, a guided museum package, and something called a premium canal evening in Venice. My name was nowhere in the captions, but my money was underneath every single one of them. I sat there in the glow of my laptop, remembering the way my mother had said, "Do not make this about money." That sentence sounded different now. It had not been a plea. It had been a warning. It meant she already knew I would object. It meant she had already decided my answer did not matter. I opened the bank app again and looked at the merchant name. Then I searched my email, because years earlier my mother had convinced me to create a shared emergency folder after my grandmother fell and needed hospital paperwork sent quickly. I had forgotten the folder even existed, but there it was. Buried under old insurance forms was a new confirmation email from a travel agency in Bellevue. The email had been copied to that folder by accident, or maybe because my mother had gotten careless. It listed the package, the travel dates, the hotel names, the cancellation rules, and the payment method. Cardholder, Maya Collins. Traveler, not me. Billing address, mine. Authorized by phone, my mother. I felt the anger rise slowly, not hot and wild, but clean and sharp. The kind of anger that makes you quiet because suddenly you understand everything. I thought about all the times I had been told I was responsible, practical, lucky, stable. Those words had always sounded like compliments until I realized my family used them as reasons to take from me. I was responsible, so I could handle it. I was practical, so I would not make a scene. I was stable, so I should carry everyone else. I zoomed in on the cancellation policy. A portion of the deposit was non-refundable after midnight. The full payment had been pushed through my card that afternoon. My mother had not panicked because there was an emergency. She had panicked because the deadline had passed, and she needed my credit limit before the booking disappeared. I looked back at my sister's profile. She had posted another story just minutes earlier, a mirror selfie with the caption, "Packing for my dream trip because my family always shows up for me." That was the moment something inside me went very still. I did not send a comment. I did not text her. I did not call my mother back. I opened a blank document and started writing down the timeline. Time of the charge. Time of my mother's call. Her exact words. The Instagram posts. The confirmation email. The cancellation policy. Every screenshot went into a folder labeled card dispute. By the time I finished, it was almost midnight. My hands were shaking, but my mind was clear. I had spent most of my life trying to keep peace in my family. That night, I finally understood that peace built on my silence was not peace at all. It was permission. I called the number on the back of my card and waited through the automated menu with my laptop open in front of me. When the representative came on, my voice sounded calmer than I felt. I explained that there was a $22,000 charge I had not authorized, that the person who placed it was a family member who had access to my card information from a real emergency years earlier, and that I had never given permission for this purchase. The representative paused when I said the amount. Then she asked if I recognized the merchant. I said yes, and recognizing the merchant did not make the charge authorized. That part mattered. I could hear myself becoming more precise with every sentence. I had learned from my job that people often hide behind confusion, but documentation cuts through confusion. I told her I had screenshots, a confirmation email, and messages showing I had been told it was an emergency after the purchase was already made. She placed me on hold. For 6 minutes, I sat in my condo with the refrigerator humming in the kitchen and the city lights outside my window. My phone kept buzzing, but I did not look. When she returned, she said they could freeze the card immediately, issue a new one, open a dispute, and mark the transaction for review. The charge was still pending, which meant the timing mattered. If the merchant had not fully captured the funds, the bank could hold it while they investigated. She warned me that family situations could get complicated. I said, "I understand. Please continue." That sentence felt like stepping across a line I had been afraid of for years. Please continue. Not let me think about it. Not maybe my mother meant well. Not what will people say. Please continue. She verified my identity, read disclosures, and asked whether I wanted to remove all saved digital wallet access. I said yes. She asked whether I wanted alerts for future large transactions. I said yes. She asked if anyone else had permission to use the card. I said no. When the call ended, my card was frozen, a new one was on the way, and the dispute had a case number. I wrote the case number at the top of my document. Then I changed passwords, banking, email, cloud storage, phone carrier, shopping accounts, anything my mother might have known from some old family favor. Each password changed felt like locking a door I had left open too long. Around 1 in the morning, an email arrived from the travel agency. Payment verification required. Reservation temporarily on hold. Please contact us within 24 hours to avoid cancellation. I read it twice, then saved it with the others. That email told me the bank had already done something. It also told me my mother would find out soon. For 1 weak second, guilt pressed against my ribs. I pictured my sister crying, my mother yelling, my father saying I should have called him first. But then I looked at the confirmation again. $22,000. My name, my credit, my future. I thought about how hard I had worked for that score. I thought about the condo I bought alone, the used car I drove for 5 years so I could save, the nights I ate oatmeal for dinner after college because I refused to ask anyone for help. And then I thought about how easily my mother had offered all of that to someone else, like my stability was a family coupon she could redeem whenever she wanted. At 2 in the morning, my mother texted, "Are you awake?" I did not answer. A minute later, another text. "We need to talk tomorrow." I did not answer that either. Then came one from my sister. Random question. "Did you get a fraud alert from your bank?" Mom said something weird might have happened. I stared at the message. She knew enough to ask, but not enough to apologize. I put my phone face down. I was tired, but I was not confused anymore. For the first time in a long time, I slept without planning how to make everyone else comfortable. At 8:30 the next morning, my phone started vibrating so hard against the nightstand that it sounded like an alarm. I opened my eyes, reached for it, and saw a wall of missed calls. My mother, my sister, my mother again, my father, my sister again. 35 missed calls in less than 40 minutes. There were voicemails, too. I played the first one and heard my sister crying so loudly the words broke apart. "Maya, what did you do? They canceled the flights. The hotel says the payment failed." "Why would you do this to me?" I deleted nothing. I saved the voicemail. The next one was my mother, but she was not crying. She was breathing hard, like she had been running. "Call the bank right now. Tell them it was a mistake. You are going to ruin everything if you do not fix this." The third was my father, confused and low. "Maya, your mother says there is a problem with your card and your sister's trip. Call me." I sat up slowly. My room was bright with morning light, but I felt strangely calm. The storm had arrived exactly where I knew it would. I brushed my teeth, made coffee, and let the phone ring 3 more times before I answered. My mother started before I even said hello. "What did you tell the bank?" I took a sip of coffee and said, "Good morning to you too." She snapped that this was not funny, that the travel agency had put the booking on hold, that my sister was hysterical, that if I did not reverse the dispute immediately, the whole package would be canceled. I asked one question. What was the emergency? Silence. It lasted only 2 seconds, but it told me everything. Then she said, "Do not start with that." I said, "You told me it was an emergency, so tell me what the emergency was." She lowered her voice and said my sister was under a lot of emotional pressure after graduation. She needed something beautiful to look forward to. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because the lie was so soft and polished it sounded rehearsed. I said, "A luxury Europe trip is not an emergency." She said, "You always do this. You always make your sister feel guilty for being loved." That was when my sister grabbed the phone or joined the call, because suddenly I heard her voice, high and furious. "I cannot believe you are jealous enough to cancel my graduation gift." I closed my eyes for a second. There it was, the word gift. A gift paid for with my credit card, without my permission, after my mother lied to me. I said, "It was not a gift from Mom. It was a charge in my name." My sister shouted that I did not understand, that everyone's parents do big things for graduation, that I was ruining her one special moment. My mother jumped in and said, "We were going to pay you back." I asked, "When?" Another silence. I asked, "With what money?" This time my mother exploded. "How dare you talk to me like that after everything I have done for you? I raised you. I fed you. I gave you a roof." I said, "You chose to be a parent. That does not give you the right to use my credit card." My father was quiet in the background until he finally said, "Vanessa, Did you ask her before you booked it? My mother snapped at him to stay out of it. That was new. My father usually disappeared when things got uncomfortable. But the amount had finally pulled him into the room. I heard my sister sobbing again, saying Paris was gone, Rome was gone, the hotel balcony was gone. She talked about the trip like it had been stolen from her. Not once did she say, "I am sorry this happened to you." My mother said if I loved my family, I would call the bank and say I made a mistake. I said, "I did not make a mistake." Then I said the sentence that made the whole call go dead. I saw the posts on her wall. No one spoke. I could hear someone breathing. My mother finally said, "You were spying on her." I said, "She posted it publicly, you lied privately. There is a difference." My sister hung up first. My mother told me I had humiliated her. I said, "No, Mom." I protected myself. Then I ended the call before she could answer. My hands were shaking after that, but not from fear. From the shock of hearing myself choose my own side and not apologize for it. By noon, my family group chat had turned into a courtroom where everyone had apparently been invited except the truth. My mother wrote first. "Your sister's dream graduation trip has been destroyed because Maya decided to punish the family over a misunderstanding." Then my sister posted a crying selfie on her story, not saying my name, but making sure everyone knew exactly who she meant. Some people cannot stand seeing others happy. Family should support family. The messages started within minutes. An aunt told me I was being cold. A cousin asked if I could just let it go because my sister had worked hard. Another relative said my mother must have had a good reason, because mothers do not just do things like that. I stared at that message longer than the others. Mothers do not just do things like that. I wondered how many terrible choices in families had been protected by sentences like that. I did not respond right away. I ate lunch. I answered work emails. I joined a logistics call and discussed delayed medical supply routes like my personal life was not burning in another tab. That was something my family never understood about me. Calm did not mean weak. It meant I was deciding where to aim. After work, I opened the family group chat and typed one message. "Since my name is being used in this situation, I am going to share the facts once. My credit card was used for a $22,000 Europe travel package without my permission. I was told after the purchase that it was an emergency. Public posts show it was a luxury graduation trip. I have reported the charge as unauthorized and will not be reversing that report." Then I attached 3 screenshots. The bank alert, my mother's text using the word emergency, my sister's Europe countdown post. I did not add insults. I did not call anyone a thief. I let the evidence sit there by itself. For almost 10 minutes, no one replied. Then my aunt wrote, "Vanessa, is this true?" My mother answered with a paragraph about how I had always been dramatic, how she planned to pay me back, how she did not think I would mind because I had a good job. That was the second mistake she made that day. The first was lying. The second was admitting she had never asked because she assumed my success belonged to the family. My father called me after that. His voice sounded older than it had that morning. He asked me to explain from the beginning. I did. I told him about the charge, the phone call, the Instagram posts, the travel agency email, the bank dispute. He listened without interrupting, which was rare. When I finished, he said, "I did not know it was that much." I asked, "How much did you think it was?" He said nothing. I realized then that my mother had not just lied to me, she had also edited the story for him. Later that night, my cousin Lauren called. She did not start with advice. She started with, "I believe you." Those 3 words nearly broke me. She told me my mother had borrowed $4,000 from her 2 years earlier for a home repair that never happened. Before that, she had borrowed from another aunt for a medical bill that turned out to be a credit card payment. Lauren said people had whispered about it, But no one wanted to confront her because she always made it emotional. She cried. She accused people of judging her. She said, family should not keep score. I sat on my couch with the phone pressed to my ear, feeling the shape of a pattern I had been trained not to see. This was not a desperate mother making one poor choice. This was a woman who had learned that guilt could function like a credit card, and she had been swiping it for years. The next morning, the travel agency officially canceled the package. The deposit loss was several $1,000s, charged to my mother's backup payment method. I know because she called me screaming about it. She said I had cost her money. I said, no, you cost yourself money when you used mine. That line made her so angry she hung up. But for the first time, her anger did not make me panic. It made me understand that my boundary had finally reached the person it was built for. The week after the cancellation was ugly, but it was also revealing. My mother tried every version of pressure she knew. She cried in voicemails. She sent long texts about sacrifice. She reminded me of school lunches she had packed when I was 8, as if a sandwich from childhood could justify a $22,000 charge in adulthood. She told relatives I had embarrassed her. She told my sister I had always resented her. She told my father I was trying to break the family apart. But this time, the story did not hold together. Too many people had seen the screenshots. Too many people had started comparing notes. My father, who had spent years avoiding conflict, finally opened the family bank statements. What he found changed the entire balance of the house. There were store cards he did not know about. There were payments to boutiques, deposits for events, and a separate balance from a furniture account my mother had hidden. The Europe trip was not just a celebration. It was part of a bigger performance. My mother wanted my sister's graduation to look perfect, because perfection had always been her favorite disguise. When my father called me again, he sounded exhausted. He said he was sorry. Not a polished apology, not the kind people say because they want the conversation to end. A real one. He said, I should have asked more questions years ago. I did not let that sentence fix everything, but I let it matter. He told me he had removed my mother's access to some joint credit lines, scheduled an appointment with a financial counselor, and told her she had to sell several luxury items to cover the lost deposit and part of the hidden balances. My mother called that betrayal. I called it math. My sister did not contact me for 9 days. During those 9 days, I kept living. That sounds small, but it was not. I went to work. I cooked dinner. I ran along the waterfront. I met Lauren for coffee and realized how strange it felt to talk to a family member who did not demand anything from me. I started therapy through an online service because I needed someone neutral to help me understand why saying no made me feel guilty even when I was right. My therapist said something that stayed with me. She said, "You were not treated like the oldest daughter. You were treated like the backup plan." I thought about that for days. The backup plan. The one they called when money was short. The one expected to understand. The one told to be mature while everyone else got to be fragile. On the 10th day, my sister texted. It was not an apology at first. It said, "Did you know Mom told me you offered to help pay?" I stared at those words until they blurred. Then I replied, "No, I never offered." She did not answer for an hour. When she finally did, the message was shorter. I did not know that. Over the next few days, the truth reached her in pieces. She learned that my mother had not asked me. She learned that the trip cost $22,000. She learned that our father had not approved the full amount. She learned that her graduation gift had been built on a lie and wrapped in my name. Her apology came one night while I was folding laundry. "I am sorry. I was selfish. I thought you were taking something from me, but I think Mom took something from you first." I sat down on the floor with a towel in my hands and read it 3 times. I wanted to forgive her instantly because part of me missed the idea of having a sister. but I had learned not to confuse a first apology with a finished repair. I wrote back, "Thank you for saying that. I need time." To her credit, she did not argue. A month later, she got a part-time job at an interior design showroom in Bellevue. She complained about the schedule once, then stopped when I did not rescue her from it. She started paying her own phone bill. She sold some clothes online. She even asked me how to build credit safely. I gave her general advice, not access, not money, not a rescue plan. My mother hated that. She said I had poisoned my sister against her. But what really happened was simpler. For the first time, my sister had to look at the cost of being protected from consequences. And for the first time, my mother had to pay a bill she could not send to me. 3 months after the canceled trip, I agreed to one mediated family video call. Not because everything was fine, and not because I wanted to pretend we were a normal family again. I agreed because I wanted to say my piece in a room where no one could rewrite it. The mediator was a calm woman with silver glasses who began by setting rules. No interrupting. No name-calling. No using past parenting duties as payment for adult obedience. That last one made my mother look away. I spoke first. I said I was not there to debate whether my sister deserved a graduation celebration. I was there because my credit card had been used without permission, because I had been lied to, and because when I protected myself, the family treated me like the problem. My mother started crying before I finished. In the past, those tears would have pulled me out of my own anger. I would have softened. I would have apologized for my tone. I would have tried to make the room easier for everyone else. This time, I let her cry and kept talking. I said, "I love this family, but I will never again be the emergency fund for choices I did not make." My father apologized again, this time in front of everyone. He said he had confused keeping peace with being passive, and he understood now that his silence had helped the pattern continue. My sister apologized too. She said she had enjoyed being the golden child because it felt like love, but she was starting to see that being spoiled had not prepared her for real life. She looked embarrassed when she said it, but she said it anyway. My mother was the last to speak. For a while, she defended herself. She said she had wanted to give her youngest daughter something beautiful. She said she felt pressure to keep up with other parents. She said she thought I would understand because I was doing well. The mediator asked her one question. "Did Maya give you permission to use her card?" My mother wiped her face and whispered, "No." That one word did not erase what she had done, but it ended the argument. After that call, the boundaries became official. My mother would not have access to my financial information, my home access codes, my emergency documents, or my accounts. If she needed help, she could ask, and I could say no. My father continued financial counseling with her. Their marriage did not magically heal. Some relatives still thought I was too harsh, but fewer said it out loud after the truth became impossible to dress up as family love. My sister kept working. She did not become perfect. Neither did I. But she started saving for her own small trip, one she could actually afford, and one day she sent me a picture of a jar labeled travel fund. No guilt, no request, just progress. As for me, life became quieter in a way I had never known before. I accepted a larger project at work. I rebuilt my emergency folder with only my name on it. I changed every account, every password, every backup contact. I started sleeping better. I stopped flinching every time my phone rang. The strangest part was realizing that I had not lost my family by setting boundaries. I had lost the version of my family that required me to disappear in order to belong. That was painful, but it was also freedom. The lesson I carried from all of it is simple. Family love should never require someone to sacrifice their future, their credit, or their peace of mind. Protecting your finances is not selfish. It is part of protecting your dignity. Boundaries are not walls built from hate. Sometimes they are doors with locks, teaching people that love must come with respect. And if you are listening to this while carrying guilt for saying no to someone you love, I hope you remember this. A person who truly cares about you will not need access to your money to prove you love them. They will respect your no, your limits, and your right to build a life that is not constantly being drained by someone else's crisis. My mother wanted a beautiful story to post online. She got a different one instead. A story where the daughter she underestimated finally checked the receipts, protected her name, and chose peace over permission. Have you ever had to set a financial boundary with someone you loved? Share your story below, because your experience might give someone else the courage to protect their own future.